The late afternoon sun drenched Whitaker Park in molten gold, spilling across the worn blacktop courts and the parade of lawn chairs, children, and neighbors that filled it. Banners fluttered gently along the chain-link fence, printed with words like community, pride, and honor, while a local quartet played soft jazz from a small gazebo wrapped in American flags. In a quiet corner of the crowd, an elderly veteran in a wheel-less chair adjusted his cap, watching the court with sharp, proud eyes. The event wasn't just another summer game. It was bigger than that. It was Dame's Day. Damian Lillard, known to the nation for clutch shots and stone-cold stare-downs under playoff lights, was not just a basketball player here. He was something rarer, a hometown hero who had never forgotten what home meant. No media frenzy surrounded his arrival. No roaring motorcycles or security flanks. He simply walked in hoodie, slung low, jeans hanging easy off his frame, a worn cap tugged down like he was coming back from a morning errand instead of stepping into a place where everyone would have forgiven him if he'd asked for a throne. Kids squealed and scrambled forward, waving posters scrawled in markers, "Dame time, our time." A woman carrying a baby reached out without hesitation, and Damien stopped, smiling softly, gently patting the child's back before moving on. It wasn't staged, it wasn't for cameras. It was real, and so it rippled through the crowd like the gospel. At half court, they handed him a battered microphone, its cord frayed and patched with blue electrical tape. He tested it with a small tap, the feedback screeching briefly before he began to speak. His voice was low, rolling out over the cracked court like the slow unfolding of a hymn. Respect is given first, earned second. That's the only way anything real lasts. A hush fell over the park, the kind of stillness that can only be found when people aren't just hearing, they're listening. He paused, adjusting the cap on his head slightly. Pride ain't your enemy until it gets bigger than your gratitude. You let it do that, it'll tear down everything you built before you even know it's gone. Heads nodded. A man in a faded construction uniform squeezed his daughter's shoulder, wordlessly affirming the lesson. Third thing, dream loud enough that you drown out every small voice trying to box you in. Doesn't matter if they laugh, doesn't matter if they don't see it yet. It's your sky. Claim it. There was no grand crescendo at the end of his speech. No shout for applause. He simply handed the mic back, nodded once, and the game began. The evening rolled on like a living postcard of American grit sneakers squealing, balls pounding the court, mothers cheering from folding chairs, fathers whistling through their fingers. Damian moved through it all with the same sharp instinct he had on the hardwood. He passed more than he shot. He clapped louder for the kids than he did for himself. Every move said, "I'm not bigger than this. I'm a part of this." But not everyone respected that sacred atmosphere. Near the autograph table, where Damian was patiently signing jerseys, caps, and crumpled notebook paper, a sneering voice slithered into the warm summer air. A reporter from a flashy national network, his badge swinging from his neck like a weapon, pushed forward with an intrusive mic. "You ever think about how crazy it is? All these folks out here worshiping a guy who just bounces a ball?" The words hit the air like a slap. The boy standing before Damian, maybe 17, maybe a little younger, flushed deep red. His hand shook as he clutched a tattered Blazers jersey to his chest, the one he'd saved up months for. For a moment, everything froze. Eyes turned, whispers hissed. A heavy, aching pause. Damian stood slowly. He didn't shout. He didn't posture. He simply met the reporter's eyes, with a gaze so direct it stripped away the man's smirk like sandpaper against silk. "Bouncing the ball ain't why they're here." He spoke evenly, his voice carrying without needing to be raised. "They're here because they know the work. They know the nights when nobody claps for you, the days you drag yourself out of bed even when the world ain't watching. They're here because they fight too. Same fight. Different fields." The reporter opened his mouth, but Damian's voice rolled on, calm and sharp as a blade sliding home. "You want to mock something? Mock the grind it takes to get back up when you've been told you're not enough. Mock the sacrifice that keeps dreams alive when everything else says quit. That's what they respect. That's what this country was built on." There were no cheers yet, only a deep, thick silence, crackling with something ancient and raw. Damian turned back to the boy without missing a beat, took the jersey from his trembling hands, and signed it with slow, deliberate care. "Chase your dream," he said. loud enough to scare away anyone too small-minded to believe in it. The boy looked up at him, wide-eyed, a flame catching in his chest that wouldn't easily die. As night fell, the game ended, but no one wanted to leave. Parents lingered, laughing in soft clumps. Old men swapped stories on benches. The jazz quartet packed up their battered instruments under the mellow light of the park's lamplights. Damian didn't rush off to a limo or duck out through some secret gate. He stayed. He walked slow along the broken sidewalk, hood pulled up, hands deep in his pockets. Just another man under the endless stretch of the American sky, his breath misting faintly in the cooling air. Somewhere behind him, a veteran raised his hand in a slow salute. Damian didn't see it. He didn't have to. The cracked sidewalk stretched ahead, lit in pieces by old street lamps whose halos flickered like weary sentinels. Somewhere in the distance, a freight train moaned its long, lonely cry across the sleeping city, a sound so deep it seemed to rattle inside the chest. The night carried the smell of cut grass and hot asphalt cooling under the stars, a scent so deeply American it could have been bottled and sold as memory itself. Damian stood beneath the crooked streetlight, its buzzing hum folding into the quiet around him, and pulled his hood down. The breeze brushed past, lifting the sweat-damp edge of his collar, stirring the edges of candy wrappers that scuttled along the gutter. He tilted his head back slowly, gazing up at the bruised purple sky where stars blinked shyly through the thinning city haze. No photographers crouched in bushes. No agents barked into phones. Here, under this battered sky, he wasn't an MVP, a rapper, a brand. He was just Damian, son of Gina, grandson of Clyde, who once said you could measure a man by how he treats those who can't offer him a damn thing. His mind wandered backward with a quiet gravity to Saturday mornings, stacking milk crates for a makeshift hoop, the rough slap of the ball against concrete echoing off brick walls, to the way his mother's hands, always cracked from cleaning houses, would gently cup his cheeks after every game, win or lose, to his first coach, a barrel-chested man with a voice like gravel who used to bark, "Championship start when nobody's clapping for you, son." The memories weren't cinematic. They were real, grainy, scratched around the edges, beautiful in their imperfections. And as he stood there, breathing it all in, he heard it. The soft, uneven footsteps of someone approaching. He didn't move, didn't tense. He could tell by the shuffle, by the uncertain rhythm, that it wasn't danger coming up behind him, it was something else, something softer, something that needed a space to speak. A boy came into view under the ragged spill of the light. The same boy from the court, the one whose hands had trembled around a crumpled jersey. Now he clutched it to his chest with a different kind of grip, not fear this time, but something heavier, more permanent, like holding on to a lifeline. His sneakers were scuffed. His jeans were too short at the ankle. His t-shirt bore the faint pink scars of 1,000 washes. But his eyes, God, his eyes burned with something Damian recognized immediately. Hope and hunger. The boy stopped a few feet away, scuffing the toe of his shoe against the cracked sidewalk, looking down like the words he wanted to say were hiding somewhere between the broken concrete. Damian waited. He had learned that silence, real silence, was a kind of gift, the kind that let truth find its own way to the surface. The boy finally spoke, voice barely a rasp. I just wanted to say, thanks." It came out in one ragged exhale, like the boy had been holding his breath since sunset. He looked up, face open, vulnerable in the way only the young could be before the world taught them to hide their tenderness behind armor. "You showed me that maybe it don't matter where you come from, maybe it don't matter what you don't got, if you work, if you believe." Damian studied him for a long moment, the breeze tugging at the edges of his hoodie. He saw all the things the boy didn't say. The cracked walls at home, the empty fridge, the long nights when hope felt like a cruel joke. He saw it because he knew it. When he finally answered, his voice was low, shaped by all the weight and grace that had ever lived inside him. "A dream don't care what your address is," he said. "It just cares how bad you want it." The boy nodded hard, like he was hammering the words into his own bones. Then, hesitating, he lifted the jersey a little higher, offering it like a fragile question. Would you show me something? Teach me? Maybe?" For a long breath, Damian just looked at him. Not at his worn sneakers, not at his too small clothes. He looked into the boy's spirit raw, trembling, unbeaten, and he saw something precious there. Something worth building. Slowly, Damian reached out, gripping the jersey between two fingers like he was holding something sacred. He smiled that rare, real smile, small and knowing, the kind that passed between men who understood the weight of impossible dreams. Come back here tomorrow, he said, voice roughened by something deeper than tiredness. Sunrise. Bring a ball. We'll get started. The boy's eyes widened, as if the rising sun itself had just cracked open inside his chest. He clutched the jersey tighter, nodding so hard Damian could hear the rustle of cotton against skin. Then he turned and ran half tripping, half floating back down the sidewalk toward home, where a tattered ball surely waited somewhere beneath a bed, worn and heavy with waiting. Damian watched him disappear into the darkness without moving, without speaking. Above him, the stars blinked once more, then began to fade, giving way to the pale suggestion of dawn. He stayed there until the street grew lighter, until the cold edge of the night softened into the warmth of the coming day. His breath hung in the air for just a moment longer before the breeze pulled it away, as if even the wind knew that this night, this moment, had planted something important into the earth. Not a trophy, not a headline, a seed. One that would grow not because it was easy, not because someone cleared the path, but because somewhere, once, a boy had been seen, had been believed in, had been given something more powerful than applause or pity. A chance. Damian pulled his hood back up, shoved his hands deep into the pockets of his worn jeans, and walked on. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Because real greatness, the kind that shapes more than just games, the kind that weaves itself into the soul of a place, never demands to be seen. It moves like the roots beneath an old oak, silent, strong, enduring. By the time the sun broke fully over Whitaker Park, laying a new gold across the court and the flag and the tired, beautiful city, Damian was already gone. But the real work had just begun